the beautiful game, a sport capable of uniting millions. But in the sunny Sicilian city of Messina, football has become a symbol of betrayal. ACR Messina, the pride of the city, finds itself at the heart of a financial scandal that has shaken Italian football to its core. This isn't just about missed goals or lost matches. This is about broken promises, shadowy figures, and a club teetering on the brink of collapse. The story begins with the arrival of Aad Invest Group, a supposed financial savior promising a bright new era for Messina. Led by the enigmatic Dudu Sisse, they painted a picture of European ambitions and financial stability. Big name signings were promised. Fans dared to dream, but dreams, as we all know, can quickly turn into nightmares. The cracks began to show almost immediately. Whispers of unpaid wages and dubious financial dealings started to surface. The grand vision presented by Sisse and his Aad group was beginning to look more like a mirage. The fans, initially enamored by the promises of a return to glory, were starting to feel a sense of dread. Something wasn't right. This wasn't just a case of mismanagement or financial incompetence. This was a full-blown swindle, a meticulously crafted deception designed to exploit the hopes and dreams of a city in love with its football club. Dudu Sisse, with his charming demeanor and grand pronouncements, became a fixture in the Sicilian press. He spoke of attracting international stars, of building a new stadium, of restoring Messina to its former glory. The local media, hungry for a good story, lapped it up. Fans, desperate for a reason to believe, clung to his every word. Conferences were held, splashed with the colours of ACR Messina and the logos of Aad Invest Group. Sisse, flanked by nervous-looking club officials, announced partnerships with international finance companies, none of which seemed to exist outside of his slick presentations. Promises were made, hands were shaken, and champagne was popped. But behind the smiles and the celebratory toasts, a sense of unease lingered. Sisse, in an attempt to quell the growing unrest, even managed to secure the services of Dutch legend Frank Rijkaard as a supposed advisor. Rijkaard's involvement, however brief, lent an air of legitimacy to the operation. But even the presence of a football icon couldn't hide the truth for long. As the weeks turned into months, the promised investments never materialized. The big-name signings failed to arrive. The new stadium remained a figment of Sisse's imagination. The fans, their initial euphoria replaced by a growing sense of betrayal, began to ask questions. But their questions were met with silence, evasion, and eventually outright hostility. For those with long memories, the situation in Messina had a chillingly familiar ring to it. Sisse, it turned out, had a history of failed football ventures. The Belgian club, KMSK Deinze, once a promising team with aspirations of promotion, had been driven to the brink of ruin under Sisse's watch. The modus operandi was strikingly similar: grand promises of investment, whispers of shady dealings, and finally, the inevitable financial meltdown. Deinze, stripped of its assets and burdened with debt, was left to pick up the pieces. And now, it seemed Messina was destined for the same fate. When confronted with his past misdeeds, Sisse was quick to deflect blame and point fingers. He claimed that his intentions were always good and that unforeseen circumstances were to blame for the failures in Deinze. He assured the skeptical Italian press that Messina would be different, that he had learned from his mistakes, but few were buying it. The stench of deception was too strong to ignore. The Italian football authorities, often accused of turning a blind eye to financial irregularities, were initially slow to react. But as the evidence of wrongdoing mounted, they could no longer ignore the cries for investigation. The beautiful game, it seemed, had once again been hijacked by greed and deceit. The house of cards that Sisse had so carefully constructed was about to collapse. The promised funds never materialized. The international investors turned out to be ghosts. And Dudu Sisse, the man who had promised so much, vanished as quickly as he had arrived, leaving behind a trail of unpaid debts and broken promises. Rijkaard, his reputation tarnished, by his association with the scandal, distanced himself from Sisi and denied any involvement in the financial dealings. The financial entities that Sisi had claimed to be partnering with issued denials, claiming they had never even heard of Aad Invest Group. ACR Messina, once a symbol of hope and pride for the city, was left reeling. The club was on the verge of bankruptcy, facing expulsion from the league and the very real prospect of liquidation. The fans, their dreams shattered, were left to grapple with the bitter truth. They had been conned. The scandal surrounding ACR Messina is a stark reminder of the dark side of the beautiful game. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of blind faith and the devastating consequences of unchecked greed. As for Messina, the future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the road to recovery will be long and arduous.